How we doing today, guys? It's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. And so I got sent this video over the weekend talking about these Ukrainians actually looking at a Russian warship from this Snake Island and telling them to go F themselves. So it turns out that's completely true, and there's a very good possibility they're still alive and actually been captured by Russians. Now, I'm not going to go all the way into this article simply because of the fact that it's going to cause an encoding issue once it gets down into my pictures, but we'll kind of go over to this real quickly and see what we can say before my computer screws up. The Ukrainian border guards who told a Russian warship to go F yourself as they defended Snake Island in the Black Sea are still alive and being held captive by the invading forces, Kiev's Navy revealed on Monday. The 13 guards were initially presumed dead after they defiantly refused to surrender their post on the small island near the Romanian border when two Russian vessels approached last Thursday. The Ukrainian Navy said in a Facebook post that the guards have been taken captive by the Russian occupiers. We are very happy to learn that our brothers are alive and well, the post said. Ukrainian officials have declared last week that the guards had all been killed after Moscow forces opened fire with barrel gunships and airstrikes cutting off all communication with the 42-acre island. But the State Border Guard of Soviet Service of Ukraine revealed Saturday that the guards could still be alive. All right, so that's the part that glitched. That's the too many pictures caused encoding issues, so we're going to move down into this article and get a little farther down. See how much farther we can get. Too many pictures screws up my computer. It just can't handle it. One of these days I'll be able to upgrade. Go buy a t-shirt. Russia claimed on Friday that Ukrainian guards had actually surrendered and made no mention of carrying out strikes. The story of the brave soldiers has made international headlines when an audio clip emerged of the exchange between Ukrainian and Russian forces. Now, this is one of the things that yeah, here goes. So this is a Russian warship. An unidentified voice can be heard saying, "I propose you lay down your weapons and surrender to avoid bloodshed and unnecessary victims. Otherwise, you will be bombed." Now, this is the response, and this is one of the things they don't talk about, is in the video, it's two people, and there's two guys standing next to each other talking to this warship, and the dude like straight up looks at his buddy and is like, "Hey, should I tell them to go F themselves?" And his buddy's like, "Yeah." And so he goes, "Okay, Russian warship, go F yourself," the Ukrainians replied. In the wake of the clip going viral, Ukraine's President Zelensky promised to decorate the presumed dead border guards with the nation's highest honor. On our Zimny Island, defending it to the last, all the border guards died heroically, but they did not give up. All of them will be posthumously awarded the title of Hero of Ukraine, he said on the website. All right, let's see if we can get past the pictures, and hopefully it doesn't glitch out on us again. Oh, too many pictures, too many pictures, too many pictures. Oh, yep, there it is. It was not immediately clear if Zelensky's promise would remain in effect if the guards returned home alive. Well, I sure as hell hope so. That'd be pretty mean if it didn't. So, yeah, so this article completely glitches out my computer, and so we couldn't show you all of the pictures. Yeah, we couldn't show you all of the pictures on that website, but it was mostly just a bunch of pictures of all the different soldiers running around in Ukraine and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so that's what's going on over there. So I thought we'd start out with some good news because I think that is really cool. That those guys are basically like, go F yourself. So how much of any of this is actually true, we'll never know probably until we see actual live interviews with these guys when all of this is over with. But until then, I thought it was pretty cool. And so now this article is from Sky News, and this one talks about why everything's taking so long and why this isn't the quick win that Putin thought it would be, just marching into Ukraine. So we're going to try to get into this. We might skip around a little bit because this article is a little long, and I've got a couple of other things I want to get to before this video is over. So, Ukraine invasion. As the fight moves into its fifth day, why are Putin's forces making such slow progress? Ukraine's defense, the difficulties in attacking a city, and miscalculations by Vladimir Putin all contributed to the slowing down of the Russian advance as the fighting moves into a fifth day. There we go. Russia's invasion of Ukraine is now in its fifth day, with key cities thought to be still under government control. Despite Russian advances, Kharkiv in the east of Ukraine, the capital Kiev, and other major locations throughout the city remain in Ukrainian hands. But why has progress by Russian forces been slower than expected? Sky News talks to Professor Michael Clark, former director of the Royal United Services Institute and a security analyst who offers his assessment of the current situation. All right, why is Russia going so slow? This is the first time the Russians have employed a combined arms operation since 1979, with everything since being alongside special forces, elite forces, and Russian mercenaries working with locals, and those were ruthless and brutal. The full-scale offense in Ukraine isn't something they are used to. There are also a large number of conscripted men, many of whom who do not want to be there. We've seen a lot of reports of that coming out over the last week or so. These soldiers don't want to be there, even with them being Russians. They don't believe in this war. They don't believe in this fight. There are lots of reports that they've been kind of lackluster, giving in, surrendering, and that they don't see why they should be fighting people who are basically their equals. As well as that, the whole plan was too thin. They were trying to do too much with 190,000 troops. That's not a lot of people to invade an entire country. Is Ukraine defense a major factor? In the first 24 to 48 hours, they were doing really rather well. Now they're doing extraordinarily well. To still be fighting on day 5 is astonishing. The Russians were trying to do this in the easy way without using heavy weaponry, but they could get much more ruthless and destructive if they wanted to. At the moment, you have lightly armed forces racing to Kiev to surround it and remove the government from the Ukrainian. The government and the Ukrainians, who are well organized and well equipped, are doing well defending them. Everywhere, but especially around the Donbas region, they seem to put up an amazingly good resistance, but time will tell as to whether they can continue. What about Kharkiv? Kharkiv is the second city, is near to the Russian border, and is quite pro-Russian. Russians surrounded Kharkiv, but they have not yet moved in on it, and they are being pushed into the suburbs as far as we know. We thought Kharkiv would go within a day, and that Mariupol would go in the first few hours, and then the Russians would work from there, but so far they haven't, and it's getting worse. It isn't going well for them on Saturday, and it's going really quite badly for them on Sunday. And here we are on Monday, and it's turning into a military disaster. Is it easier to defend a city than to attack? Generally, yeah. The city gives the defenders all the advantages, and attacking one is the hardest thing for any military to do. Attackers absolutely hate it, and for good reason, because you lose a lot of people trying to take the city. The only way you really take one down is to destroy them and blast them. Every time you take an area of a city, you lose a few more troops who have to stay behind and reinforce the areas they have cleared, and that happens day after day. And this is one of the things I talked about in one of my videos last week. That was one of the goals from the Ukrainians, was to draw the Russians into the cities, turn this into urban combat, which you have a much higher death toll on the attacking side from stuff like this, because these people know these cities way better than the attacking forces. These people are strangers in these towns. They don't know all the back roads and all the different, alleyways and everything else like the people that live there do. You're in for a hurting with urban combat. The way around it is that you become really brutal, which is what the Russians did at Aleppo, Syria, or Mosul, Iraq, and bombing them from the air to smithereens. And I don't think they want to do that. Are Russian supplies being stretched? There's a lot of very strong fragmentary evidence that only seems to have 3 or 4 days' supply of ammunition, the missiles, the artillery shells, and fuel. It speaks either of complacency on the part of the Russian military thinking, well, they're bound to sweep away these little Ukrainians in 3 days, or a huge degree of corruption, the sort that used to exist in the old Red Army with commanders pocketing fuel for cash. Some things never change. What's next for the Russians? They've got 3 options. They can carry on as they are and just do everything the hard way and take all the political flack, and every day the Ukrainian government is still on its feet, then the Russians lose. The second option is to look for a way out, which Putin is obviously exploring or is interested in exploring in these talks, though I don't think they're going to come to anything. The third option is just to go brutal and decide that, come what may, regardless of the casualties, this is your policy. I think Mr. Putin's going to hop between looking for a way out and going brutal, attempting to deceive Kiev by any means while trying to negotiate out. So that's some of the wildness going on in Ukraine right now. That's kind of where things kind of sit. I did see some stuff about negotiations starting today, and that there might already be some reports of that. I also heard that Ukraine is applying for permission to join the European Union. I don't know. That seems kind of wild. I can understand why he'd want to do it, just for the protection and stuff like that. But that sounds more just like it's fallen into more of the World Economic Forum kind of stuff, because George Soros is coming out in support of Ukraine, okay? And when George Soros and the World Economic Forum are all coming out in favor of something, it really makes you want to question what the hell's actually going on and what the real reasons behind everything are. But there's also some other good news. Elon Musk is backing Ukraine and helping them out. They were having some issues with internet over the weekend. So one of their, I can't remember if he's a defense minister. We'll see once this loads up. Here we go. Whoops. Let's see here. Let's scoot up a little bit because this is his reply to somebody else. So this is from Mykola Fedorova. Let's see if it pops up and tells us who this guy is. It normally does. Here we go. Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine and Minister of Digital Transformation of Ukraine. And he says, while you try to colonize Mars, Russia tries to occupy Ukraine. While your rockets successfully land from space, Russian rockets attack Ukrainian civil people. I'm assuming he means civilians. We asked you to provide Ukraine with Starlink stations and to address sane Russians to stand. And he goes, Starlink, and Elon replies. Looks like he replied rather quickly. It was definitely at least the same day. I don't know what time this tweet went up. Starlink service is now active in Ukraine. More terminals en route. So even Elon's getting involved and helping out. Because, I mean, for him, it really is just you go into the other room and push a button. You know, well, he'd probably call somebody on the phone and have somebody else do it. Obviously, he's not doing it directly. But that's what he did. And he just goes in and goes, hey, activate all the satellites over Ukraine. Their network needs to go now. And poof, it happens. That's how easy this is. I know they're slowly rolling everything out because they don't want to overwhelm the network, which makes total sense. But in a situation like this, emergencies are emergencies. So you flip the switch. And then this is from me. I was listening to the Glenn Beck program this morning on the radio. Watch it live on the Blaze, on their live stream, and they had the youngest member of the Ukrainian parliament, and I'll show you him in just a second, and he was on there basically giving reports from inside as far as what's going on. Glenn was getting in to ask him questions, and I thought this was absolutely hilarious. I love this when he says it, and this just shows you how crazy things are in Ukraine and how much these people are willing to defend their world. So the youngest member of the parliament in Ukraine, which is this guy right here, see, youngest ever Ukrainian MP. I'm not even going to try pronouncing his name because I'm going to butcher it, but we'll just call him Yuresh. Was on the phone with Glenn Beck this morning and said the babushkas, which if you don't know what a babushka is, it's basically like an old woman. It's a word over there for old woman. So this morning and said babushkas were throwing potatoes at the Russian troops. This is inspiring. I thought that was absolutely hilarious. I was in no way making fun of these guys. Like, I think that's great. If there's a bunch of crazy old women out there that are literally throwing potatoes at the Russian troops just because they're pissed off and telling them to get the hell out, I think that's a wonderful thing. I think that's absolutely beautiful. So that's what's going on in Ukraine as of right now. Take everything that's coming out of these news cycles with a grain of salt, because like I said, when the World Economic Forum and George Soros is on the side of Ukraine, it makes you stop to wonder why. A lot of people think Putin might be the pawn in this. I personally think if that is the case, if Putin is more the mark and not the mastermind behind this, I think it's to remove Putin. I honestly think it is. It's to collapse his stranglehold on Russia, because Putin is, if nothing else, a nationalist. He absolutely is a Russian nationalist. Like, he believes in Russia. He does not believe in this one world government kind of stuff. He believes in, Russians being Russians, and that's it. And if you want to come to Russia, you'll adopt Russian ways, and that's just the way it is. So, I mean, obviously, when it comes to the World Economic Forum and all their global ideals and their one world system that they're trying to set up, that is not going to be something that they're going to want, and it's not something that they're going to want to put up with. It makes sense for them to want to take him out, and maybe this was the easiest way to do it. Con him into going into Ukraine, make him think it's his idea, and then have the entire world crush him from the outside through banking and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. I know the ruble's in the toilet right now. I think it's like 100 rubles to $1 right now or something. It's really bad. Their whole economy is in a downward spiral, so I can't imagine him being able to keep up this much longer. But that's just my common sense take on Ukraine. Before we get out of here, though, I want to let you know there is an Eventbrite tomorrow at the Texas State Aquarium here in Corpus Christi. Governor Abbott will be there. We're going to be watching tomorrow is the primary day here in Texas. If you weren't aware, if you haven't already voted, make sure you hurry up and get out there. Tomorrow is the last day for the primary voting. And they're going to be Governor Abbott is going to be in town, and they're going to be watching the primary results come in at the Texas State Aquarium. So I'm going to try to get down there tomorrow night. I'm working the election tomorrow, so I'll probably be a little bit late, but I'm going to try to live stream the entire event and try to get the reactions as the polls come in and as the vote counts come in. So we'll see how that goes. So check that out tomorrow night. It'll probably be somewhere between like 7:30 and 8 o'clock, probably closer to 8:30, just because of how long of a drive I've got from the voting center I'm working at. But yes, I will try to be in there and live streaming and try to get reactions from the candidates as the polls come in. So make sure you're keeping an eye on. Hit that notification bell if you have not already, so that way as soon as I go live, that notification will pop up on your phone and you can go check it out. As always, this is Jesse with the Common Man Corpus Christi, bringing you news and politics through a common sense lens. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.